Last weekend, Jackie Stewart and I had an assignment at the old Monza Autodrome outside Milan, Italy, that we were sure would be exciting and thought probably would be very pleasant, because Mario Andretti had a chance to become only the second American ever to win the World Grand Prix Driving Championship. In fact, only one man had even a mathematical chance to beat him out, and that was his teammate on Team Lotus, Ronnie Peterson of Sweden. There were a number of interesting parallels at that point between last weekend's occasion and the occasion when Phil Hill of Santa Monica, California, became the only American to win the championship. That was 17 years to the day previously, on September 10th, 1961. Only this man, Hill's teammate, Count Taffy von Trips of Germany, both driving for Team Ferrari, only von Trips had a chance to beat him out. In fact, von Trips led Phil Hill by 8 points going to this race. This was Phil Hill. Trailing his teammate by 8, he needed the victory because 9 points then as now went to the winner. Well, it was Trips on the pole as they pulled away from the starting line, and he was the favorite to win the race, in fact, and to win the world title. They went out onto the race course as it now stands, and then there was the high banking, which was used then and is no longer used. But suddenly on the second lap, at the curve known as the Parabolica, this terrible, fiery crash. It was Trips' car flying off the race course, up a grassy bank and into the crowd. Eventually, 14 spectators would die. Trips was killed instantly.
The car of Jim Clark's and Trips collided at very high speed, 180 miles an hour. The destruction was enormous. Phil Hill was going through without injury, but Taffy von Trips was thrown out of his car and died immediately.
It took some time, of course, for the terrible bodies, for the injured, and for the race car to be cleared from the track, but eventually the race was restarted, and eventually there would be a checkered flag for Phil Hill of California. He was, in fact, the world champion. They put the wreath around him. He smiled in victory, but then he turned and suddenly remembering asked, "How's von Trips?" And they said, "Von Trips is dead." No one could have imagined last weekend that the parallel between Mario Andretti's year and Phil Hill's year eventually would become complete. Jackie, even in retrospect, was such a terrible weekend, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, why don't we look at the race course as it now stands?
Well, much has changed since then, Jim. If we look at this racetrack, we remember the high banking that we've just seen, and that's this oval here. That has now been taken away from the Monza racetrack, and the road track remains as it was then, with the addition of a few chicanes round the track. It still runs through the park of Monza, still a wonderful racetrack, and still a very beautiful place. Another thing, of course, we must remember that this year the World Championship was run under circumstances where Mario Andretti totally dominated the sport of Grand Prix motor racing. He won so many races in such a convincing style. Ronnie Peterson truly could beat him technically in the World Championship on a points basis, but no one really imagined that he would. Everybody felt confident that Mario would finish that weekend as world champion and with the elation that he would deserve after winning such a title in such a nostalgic Grand Prix circuit.
Let's go back now in time to our coverage of the race as Jackie and I did it in Italy last weekend. Many exciting and some tragic dramas have been enacted on the old Monza racetrack, which winds its way through a forest outside Milan, Italy. However, of all the things that have happened here, two are most applicable to our story today. The first was 17 years ago, 1961, Phil Hill of Santa Monica, California, winning the World Grand Prix Driving Championship, becoming the first, and to this date, the only American ever to win that title. The other event that happened here, well, it wasn't noticed at the time. It was 7 years before, 1954, a 14-year-old Italian boy coming to the race with 100,000 others and standing in the mob down on the Lesmo corner, falling in love with the sport and with the hero, Alberto Ascari, winner of the race and the world champion. Well, that boy was Mario Andretti. You must know most of the rest of the story, how he came to the United States, to Nazareth, PA, won the Indianapolis 500 in time and the Daytona 500, and now comes full cycle. The little Italian boy is back at Monza at this very same racetrack with a chance to win the world championship today. That is his car just behind us here, number 5. If he wins the race, and his teammate, Ronnie Peterson, the only other man with a chance to win the world title this year, finishes no better than 4th, then Mario will win the world championship. Should, however, Peterson finish no better than 7th in the race, then Mario could still win by finishing 2nd this afternoon. However, should Andretti finish 3rd or worse, the World Championship will still at least technically be up for grabs with 2 races yet to go. There's been a development here, however, that could affect the race, and a man who knows about it, as he always does, is Jackie Stewart, our expert on the motorsport. Tell us about what happened this morning.
Oh, Jim, dramatic event happened this morning. Ronnie Peterson had an accident. It seemed like a mechanical failure in his Lotus, went straight on it, quite a fast corner, severely damaged the car, written it off. In fact, it will not be possible for him to drive his usual car in the race, which means that he's driving a last year's car, the backup car, this certainly gives Mario a better chance to clinch the World Championship today at Monza. I've got no fear that Mario is not going to win the World Championship this year. He will surely be champion. But we would like him to do it today. I know this crowd here at Monza would like to see it happen. I'm sure Jim McKay and Jackie Stewart would like to see it happen. And most of all, the man in that car, Mario Andretti.
In car number 5, right behind us. Well, we'll be back with the start of the race in a minute. We're at Monza, Italy, where the cars are in motion for the pace lap preceding the Grand Prix of Italy, the race in which Mario Andretti of the United States hopes to clinch the World Grand Prix Driving Championship. Jackie talked to Mario just a few minutes ago, and also to Ronnie Peterson about his accident in practice this morning.
Mario, really only minutes to the Italian Grand Prix. What are your feelings right now?
Well, a little bit uptight, a little concerned about a lot of things. Just hope we get a clean enough start so we can go racing without much problem. As you know, the chicane is very critical. The first chicane, only one car at a time can go through there, and I just hope we can all do this thing nice and clean.
Ronnie, a very scary accident this morning, one that did two things. First of all, was potentially dangerous, and another thing, of course, destroyed the car that you were going to drive in this race.
Yes, that's very unfortunate. It hasn't been my weekend at all. There's been an engine blow on the first day and the gearbox, well, the clutch on the second day, and now I had an accident this morning. There was something went wrong with the brakes, and the pedal just went in the floor and I had no brake.
So, in fact, it was potentially a very high-speed accident.
Well, I suppose slowed down quite a bit, but it was from very high speed anyway.
Now, you're driving a completely different car, Ronnie.
Yes, it's the older 78. I'm going to, well, I have to drive anyway.
Well, Ronnie, no, just a few minutes to go. Colin Chapman's waiting. You better go and do some work.
Yes, it's time to go for Ronnie Peterson. Time to get into that old Lotus 78 and give it a try in the Grand Prix of Italy. Now, as the cars continue to warm up their tires on the pace lap, let's set the field. Altogether, there are 24 cars in the race, scheduled for 52 laps of the course. On the pole, the man in the spotlight is car number 5, Mario Andretti. Next to him, in the number 12 Ferrari, the young Canadian driver Gilles Villeneuve. On the inside of row 2, in the Renault number 15, is Jean-Pierre Jabouille. And next to him, last year's world champion Niki Lauda in the Brabham number 1. Ronnie Peterson is in the number 6 Lotus on the inside of the third row, and on the outside of that row, the Australian Alan Jones in the number 27 Williams. About to reach the start-finish line, they'll come to a complete stop again, right, Jackie?
Yes, there's a light system nowadays. It's not a flag, and when the cars absolutely come to a stop, and one car's going straight into the pits, Patrick Tamby is going into the pits, the cars must come to a stop, then a red light goes on, they're under starter's orders, and then only then will a green light show. That's the second row you're looking at right now.
All right, here's the first row with Mario Andretti in the black car on the pole, number 5. Next to him is Villeneuve in car number 12. Villeneuve gets it on the start. The green light on. They're racing at Monza. Villeneuve is the Ferrari, has the lead. Andretti is second. Peterson is dropping back in the field as they head for that spot. There's an accident!
There's a big crash there. It looked like a car in the center of the field. It could have been a black car. It could have been Ronnie Peterson.
It's a bad one.
It's a big accident. These cars are full of fuel. The beginning of this, there's a driver. It looked like James Hunt running to the car that's burning there. He's running to that fire.
The word, Jackie, is it's Peterson. Peterson in the burning car. A number of other cars involved in it. We'll pick them up as we can. But that is bad. It's very bad. He's still in that car, and you can see, oh, this is terrible.
They're finding the fire. They've got very quickly onto it. There's James Hunt. There's another driver. Patrick Depailler is in there.
They're getting him out of the car.
He's out the car now. Thank goodness for that. They're getting the fire under control. The car is Ronnie Peterson's car. The drivers themselves getting Ronnie out of the car. There's a lot of other cars involved here. There must be 7 or 8 cars involved. It looks very serious, a very high-speed accident. The car hit the barrier. It's a tremendous speed. There's the car of Brambilla down there, the orange-coloured car. But that is Ronnie Peterson we're looking at. He's got leg injuries there, I'm afraid, as well as anything else.
No question, this is a very, very bad accident. Right on the start, just a few hundred yards, at the point where the race course narrows down from 25 meters to only 15 meters. There is a funnel effect there. It didn't look like a good start either, Jackie.
It didn't, no, I'm afraid. The cars didn't seem to come to a stop. That's the car of James Hunt. They're showing the red flag. They're stopping the cars that are still going round the racetrack. The wreckage of Ronnie Peterson, the fire is now fully out.
Excuse me, there's Brambilla lying on the ground. We saw him for just a moment. There, see him beside the orange car. So he's been injured also. No way of knowing him badly.
Another car of Clay Ragazzoni and the car of Hans Stuck is involved. The car of Depailler and Pironi involved. That's the car there of Depailler. There's about 7 or 8 cars involved. That's Brett Lunger, the American driver. He seems to have a very light injury in his car, so he'll probably be okay.
All right, we're going to take a look at a replay of this. This is at normal speed, Jackie. Let's see if we can spot what happened as they come. No question, the cars at the rear of the field, it appeared to me, were still in motion, some of them, when they got the green light.
Well, that was certainly an error of the man who's in charge of the start. He should not put the red light on until all the cars have come to a complete stop, and only then, when they're under starter's orders, can the green flag be shown. The cars at the back of the grid we can't see are certainly still rolling. Mario Andretti anticipates slightly the start, but Villeneuve gets away first. Then the cars stream away. Niki Lauda gets the break on Mario Andretti. He passes, but it's just in this middle bunch here in the center of the field there that this accident occurs. Ronnie Peterson slams into the barrier at well over 100 miles an hour. A very serious impact.
All right, here it is in slow motion, Jackie.
The slow motion here, it seems to me as I read it, that in fact the driver Patrese seems to have come into contact with James Hunt in a red and white car. He bounced across. It looks like he has hit Ronnie Peterson on the rear wheel. Ronnie then veers right down, crashes into the barrier. The front end of the car got the barrier. The car then leapt across the road, hit the Tyrrell car of Didier Pironi, and that in fact was a heavy impact as well. And of course all the other cars were involved because they couldn't see because of the instant fire. Mario, a tragic start, a very bad start.
Yeah, it couldn't be worse. It seems like the width of the straightaway here invites a lot of passing and dodging about, and you have to go right into that like a funnel. And I'm just really worried about Ronnie.
Seems the car did catch fire very well.
Yeah, but it hit the guardrail at such impact that it's just incredible. It tore everything out, and it's very bad.
Well, the ambulance has just gone with Ronnie Peterson. No report of his condition, of course, to be taken to the field hospital, and then if necessary, and one would guess it will be necessary, to a hospital in downtown Milan. There is a helicopter for that purpose, working on the gasoline on the track now.
Softening down that so there's no risk of another fire, Jim.
And so a terrible accident has stopped the Grand Prix of Italy. And so last Sunday, the World Championship had come to Mario Andretti in an unexpected and bitter way. His teammate, Ronnie Peterson, the only man with a chance to catch him for the title, had been badly injured in the fiery crash on the race start. With multiple fractures of both legs, it was obvious that Peterson's racing season was over, giving the title to Mario. Later, Ronnie would die, but not until the next morning. Victory, so long anticipated and so well earned, now tasted like ashes in Mario's mouth. Jackie Stewart talked to him before the race was restarted.
Mario, certainly not as jubilant to recognition of you now statistically and factually being the champion of the world as I would like to give you and offer you congratulations. Obviously you feel the damper on this just as much as we do.
Well, there's certainly no time to feel like celebrating. It's just lost its impact. There's no question about it for me, at least for now. And it's useless to say that this is the least what I really expected to happen this particular season. Everything was going so well, and so well, not just for me, but for both of us, Ronnie and I, regardless of the controversy that people were trying to build up around us. I think both of us felt that we had probably the best season ever.
Well, here it was, the second start of the Grand Prix of Italy. More than 2.5 hours after the original and tragic start. It was after 6 o'clock in the evening, Milan time, as we were on the front row, and ready in the black car, and again, outside him, Villeneuve. Watch closely on the start, however, because the two of them actually jumped at the green light. There they go, Villeneuve first, and then Mario going with him, and then the other cars waiting for the green light going off behind them.
Very intoxicating moment for a racing driver. Mario saw Villeneuve going, he let the clutch out, and he followed him away. It's almost been sucked along there. They're leading the races to go through this very first chicane. Everyone got a good, clean start that time. A little congested in there with John Watson and Jody Scheckter, but the whole field getting through that first difficult corner cleanly.
Of course, the question at this point was, are they leading the race right now, or are they not? Would they be penalized for jumping the gun? As it turned out, they would be penalized. 1 minute for each of them, for Andretti and for Villeneuve.
And of course, at this time, Andretti must have been speculating that this could have been the case, but I don't think that Niki Lauda was thinking that. He was just sitting in there behind these other cars as they come through in this very first lap.
Yes, actually, at this point in the race, he was in fourth position. But he would move past the other car in front of him, the yellow car there, Jabouille, and move into third apparent position in the race. But actually, the leader in the race, because of the 1-minute penalty, again, that was assessed against these two cars, Villeneuve and Mario Andretti.
So they come through this very fast part going into the Ascari chicane. This is a new thing that was put in a few years ago to slow the speeds down at Monza. It's a tremendously high-speed circuit with Ascari chicane as they go down the long straight now with a tremendous crowd of well over 100,000 people to the Parabolica. A very fast corner. Mario Andretti tucked in the slipstream of Gilles Villeneuve, the young Canadian in the Ferrari, and he tries to get fast, but he realizes he can't do it on this very first lap.
All on the first lap, remember. This action that you're watching right now from last Sunday's race. Mario moving up alongside Villeneuve at this point. You'll see they're almost side by side as they come past the crowd to complete the first lap. There they were. Andretti on the outside now, Villeneuve on the inside.
Tremendously thrilling for the Italian crowd, a partisan crowd. The Ferrari, of course, the local team. And Mario Andretti, born here in Italy, is Gilles Villeneuve, car number 12, the red and white Ferrari going through there. Young Canadian driver leading Mario Andretti going into the second lap.
Okay, that's the way they stayed pretty much until the 34th lap. On the 34th lap, as we'll see here, Mario finally got alongside Villeneuve and passed him, but not for the lead, remember. At this point, only to move up from 7th place in the race to 6th officially, because of the 1-minute penalty that had been assessed against both of them. Actually, they were leading Niki Lauda by some 8 to 10 seconds at this point on the race course, but not in the standings. And when they took the checkered flag, Mario took it first, then Villeneuve, because they had completed the 40 laps of the shortened race first. But here came the real winner of this year's Grand Prix of Italy because of the penalty. Niki Lauda in car number 1, last year's champion of the world in Formula One racing. The end of a tragic and ironic and very strange day in Italy. The crowd at this point only had heard that Ronnie Peterson had 2 broken legs and was in the hospital. They surged in the usual way down on the race course to try to rub elbows with the winner, at least to touch a piece of the car. And you saw Mario coming in then. All he knew at this point as he came in was still that his teammate had the 2 broken legs. But you can see already the elation had been drained out of this victory. His life's ambition, but you saw his expression there. Totally down, almost as if it meant nothing. It literally turned to ashes. A strange and terrible day at Monza. These then were the parallels between Mario Andretti's year and Phil Hill's year. On each occasion, they came to Monza on the same date, September 10th, 17 years apart. On each occasion, they had a chance to win the World Championship there on that day. The only person with a chance to beat them on each occasion, their teammate. And each time, the teammate died, and the American won. Terrible, tragic parallels. I can't think of any moral, certainly, to be drawn from it. Perhaps the Monza racetrack itself. Jackie, 50 men have died on that racetrack. Among them, some of the great names in the sport. Alberto Ascari, Mario Andretti's boyhood idol, Jochen Rindt, Trips, and now Peterson.
Yes, but you know, there's probably more racing miles been done at Monza than most any other racetrack in the world. I think that Monza's the most well-kept racetrack in the world. I don't think that it's dangerous, any more dangerous than any other racetrack. I do think, however, things can be changed. The funnel effect from the wide starting area running into that first narrow corner could be eliminated, and that certainly could have contributed to this accident. Another contributing factor was the untidy start. The starter certainly did not go through the correct procedure, and therefore there was bunching taking place going into that first dreadful area approaching the first corner. But really, I can't say, truthfully, that it's a position to take that Monza should be no longer allowed for Grand Prix racing.
Well, tidying up the details, the other man injured, Vittorio Brambilla, had a fractured skull, who's now responding, however, very well to treatment in a Milan hospital. Ronnie Peterson, of course, gave his life. And what kind of a man was he? Well, earlier, Jackie asked Mario Andretti, his teammate and the new champion of the world, to say what quality he will remember best and longest about Ronnie.
His sincerity. I've really learned to appreciate that more than anything else in a man as competitive as he was with his skills. And I found that this is something that many people in this business lack because it's a very selfish business, let's face it. But I found that he could share with me all the basic findings of the car, whatever he found. If he changed something, even if it went for the better, it's not that he kept it to himself and figured, well, let him struggle. I knew he was that open, and these are some of the qualities I've really learned to appreciate about the man. That's why our friendship, again, was that strong and sincere, because I think it was open, and it was good.
And so when tragedy strikes in sport as in life, there is that first moment of disbelief and then paralysis. But in time, things begin to move again. Life goes on, and sport does go on also. And so Mario Andretti, just 6 days after his teammate crashed and he won the World Championship, is here in racing again. Why so soon? Well, because it's his profession. It's his job.